Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
Hey, back with you here, Mike Alexander and Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. It's good to be back, and we want you to join the program. I want personal feedback on the two guys who were sitting in here last week. I heard nothing but good things about it. Hey, I'd like to hear from the audience.
We survived.
Trust but verify, right? So we had not only Jonathan, who thank goodness was here, even though he was under the weather. I appreciate it. Patricia and I were traveling in the Northwest for some long overdue visits to people. Good friends up there near Bellingham, and we were not able to listen last week. I did listen to the podcast; it sounded good. And thank you, Ari David, for being part of the program. Ari, David, and I have known each other. Who did he run? Did he run against Ratface Waxman?
Yeah, back in 2010, I think.
Yeah, that was before Waxman. Well, I don't know that he turned out. He just resigned because of the redistricting and decided it was just time to go out and make some money. But in any event, it was good to have Ari David here. And they took the program in a little bit different direction last week, talking about Gosnell, this movie. And of course, Gosnell is one of our most prolific serial killers. Even if you don't count prenatal abortions, what this guy was doing was just outrageous. And I'm so glad that you guys talked about that program. And believe me, this is not a social issue. Sometimes people try to dismiss it as a social issue, but the lie of abortion in our society is one of the core lies at the heart of our political discourse. And until we can reconcile this and act on this legislatively, as opposed to being having the law of abortion, such as it is, judicially imposed by a tyrannical judicial branch, we're going to continue to have problems in this country. And Gosnell, he was always a bad actor, and even now the left won't even acknowledge that he exceeded even their own bad behavior standards. It's shocking. So I'm glad we had that, and we'd love to have we'd love to have you call in again on these issues if you'd like to hear about them. Although, as you know, we spend most of our time here on local and fiscal issues and not so much on the Supreme Court. But, of course, abortion affects so many of our fellow citizens, hundreds of thousands of them, and they're all unborn. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. So in any event, Jeff or Brooke, I just saw a blurb up on the screen that somebody had a column they want us to read or something like. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you can bring it in when you can. In the meanwhile, we want to, get back to our program here tonight. We're going to be talking about some huge issues, particularly the three major tax measures, and there are only three of them, but they're on the ballot up here in San Gabriel Valley, Pasadena, Burbank, and Glendale are each of them seeking to raise the sales tax rate by the maximum 0.75%. And that is going to generate around $20 million worth of additional revenue in the city of Pasadena. I think it's going to generate around 30 million additional revenue in Glendale, and I don't know what it is for Burbank, but we can tell you this for sure: each and every one of these taxes is nothing more or less than a pension tax, which we definitely have to understand more, because it's getting ready to bring down the entire state, and they're just trying to whistle past the graveyard. The other important election is one of our signature issues, and that's down there in South Pasadena. And in South Pasadena, local citizens there, after many years of struggling, have put on a measure, an initiative, a local initiative on the ballot to repeal the 10% utility users tax. Now, of course, the city and everybody else are screaming down there. They have no arguments. They're just screaming that the quality of life will be affected, to which we say, yes, it is going to be affected, and this $3.6 million in revenue that you would be short is a tiny fraction of the amount of revenue that you're already short of down there in Pasadena. You say, oh, we can't afford to lose $3.6 million in the utility tax, but yet, even under CalPERS phony numbers, you owe $29-30 million, so you already owe 10% of that. The other 30 would wipe out any savings. So what are they doing? They're cooking up another safety tax, a parcel tax, a parking tax, you name it. There'll be any number of creative issues, and they hope that you focus on their quality of life rather than your quality of life, because believe me, it's going down. Now, I'm privileged to have with me here Jonathan Wilson, who is the editor of the Taxpayer Gazette. And Jonathan, our second official Gazette went out this week, the Taxpayer Gazette South Pasadena Election Edition, and it is 8 solid pages long. Tell us about that. Where did it go? How long has it been out? What's the reaction?
Well, we got it printed this week here in Glendale, and had them delivered to every household in South Pasadena on Thursday morning, starting at 4 a.m.
How many households is that?
Approximately 10,500.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been getting some great response.
Uh-huh.
We had a guy come in the other day that was just over the moon, said you guys did a great job explaining it. He owns an apartment building. He wanted all of his tenants to get the Gazette,
right,
so they know why their rent's going up.
Right. There you go. It's as basic as that.
Yeah. I thought that was incredible. And I did, we're always disappointed when we don't get the negative, angry phone calls. I was thinking, well, the first day or so we didn't get any angry phone calls.
Right. Stay out of my city,
I thought, gosh,
outsiders.
Maybe it wasn't a success.
Yeah.
But late Friday afternoon, I was getting ready to leave. Phone rings, and I'm packing up.
Right.
And I think, I don't really want to answer it. I might get caught on the phone. But I picked it up.
Yeah.
And this woman said, oh, hi, I just wanted to let you know that I got your little newspaper.
Oh, your little newspaper. Yeah, right.
And I said, great. Well, I'm glad. And she's like, well, I don't know if you're going to like what I have to say, but I thought you guys would benefit from some of my feedback.
Sounds like a teacher.
And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I was undecided on Measure N until I got this. Now I'm definitely voting against it.
What a crock.
I know.
Right.
And so I asked her to explain a little bit.
Yeah.
And she said, well, it's just I like to do my research, and I looked into your group, and any group that's against everything, I'm suspect.
No.
And I just said, all right, well, fair enough. Have a good weekend.
I guess you won't be dating her on Tinder. Okay. What a prize. Hey, we got our break coming up here. We're just getting started. I want to get back to some of those stories. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. Call us here. We'd love to hear from you. 866-870-5752. Back in a minute.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right, back with you here. Our telephone number is 866-870-5752. And remember, this is citizen-sponsored radio. This airtime, like everything else in this world, costs money, and we depend upon you and other generous contributors to help keep us on the air. And you can help us do that by going to radiofreelosangeles.net and clicking the contribution button. What else did you have going on there the other day?
That was all the feedback.
No. There was much more important feedback.
Oh, really?
What was that? The guy from that apartment house, what did he do?
Well, he dropped a donation on us.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
a significant one. So.
There you go. And as you folks know out there, the most sincere words in the English language are not "I love you." Never have three words been so insincerely uttered so many times. It is not, "I'm from government, I'm here to help you." That's for sure. No, ladies and gentlemen, the sincerest words in the English language are "pay to the order of."
Correct.
All right, so this guy took and passed the sincerity test, and we sure appreciate you. What's his first name down there?
It's anonymous.
Okay,
He asked to be
all right.
anonymous, actually.
Hey, I don't blame you because being a property owner down there in the People's Republic of South Pasadena is a high-risk occupation down there.
But that was very encouraging.
Kind of like eating lunch in Washington, D.C. these days, if you're conservative. You know?
Well, I would like to invite that woman that called the office late on Friday to call in tonight.
Did she have a first name?
I didn't get it. I should have gotten it.
Oh, that's all right. It's fine. But you know her.
Yeah.
She's the kind of person so disagreeable you probably walked away from her 100 times.
And so dishonest. I mean,
Yeah.
to say I called because I was undecided until I got your newspaper.
No. Your little newspaper.
Yeah, your little
right. She meant
newspaper.
something else. Yeah, I know. That's the type. Oh, God.
Man.
Oh, yeah. We've all known her. Oh, thank God. Hey, well, we've got some people who are calling in. I think we got our friend Dave from Orange County on line one. He'd like to chime in. He's got three important things we need to win this election. Dave, are you there? But
Yes, sir.
but you're going to tell me that the first and most important way that you win this election is by joining and becoming a member of the California Taxpayers Union. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
I've been not feeling well lately, so I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to do that, Mike. I've committed myself to do that in due
Great.
time.
Hey, we need it, and this is working here, pal. Hey, we got a little bit of time, not a whole heck of a lot, but fire away. We got the phones lined up tonight. Three important things. Number one, what is it?
Number one is that, first of all, remember, these Democrats are going to put stress on the American people if they are elected.
Yep.
Remember that, and this is how they're going to do it, and you want to avoid it by voting for Dana Rohrabacher, Young Kim, Diane Harkey, and Mimi Walters. Now, here's what you need to say when you call folks and tell all your friends. When you help them out at the office, you tell the voters. You tell them the Democrats want to take away your tax cuts, number one. Number two, They want these caravans over the border and more illegal aliens to make them into Democrat voters and make you pay for them. Number three.
You are.
Number three, it is. They will destroy your health care. They will continue to do what they did from 2006, 2010 to on with Obamacare. They will.
And numero dos thing that you need to do is what?
That numero dos is that health care. You need to tell the voters that don't vote for the Democrats because they're going to cause your health care premiums go up, ration your health care, prescription costs go up.
That's right.
And then vote yes on 6 because it'll repeal the gas tax, which we need to repeal.
That's correct. Dave, as usual, you are spot on, but I really want to emphasize that it is not only Democrat policies that are killing us. It is the bipartisan Republican, Democrat, big government behemoth that is killing us at the state and local level. It's not just partisan politics.
Yeah. These Republicans really need to get into action here in California. They really do. They need this leadership.
And the Republicans are no longer, as a party, are no longer opponents of big government. That's just a fact.
They just cowered out. But hey, Mike, we are the rear guard in Orange County. There's Keep Orange Red. They are
rear guard my butt. We're not rear guarding anything. We're on the tip of the spear. We're on offense.
This is
David,
where we operate from.
Thanks for calling in, David. Appreciate it, and please join. Okay, buddy. We appreciate it. I want to go to Pamela from Culver City, who has a question on Proposition 11. Pamela, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Great. Do we have the propositions pulled up on our website?
Yeah, Jonathan? Our website has CaliforniaTaxpayersUnion.org. We have all of our ballot recommendations right there.
Okay. Which one is Proposition 11, Pamela?
That's the one that requires the private sector emergency ambulance employees to remain on call during their work break.
Yes.
Yes. So I called in last week to ask you guys your recommendation for each of the ballot, and I was told to vote yes on 5, 6, and 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question on 11. What is your reason for voting 6 on 11?
All right. I believe that the argument behind it is this, and it's an argument that I agree with. We have crazy labor laws in the state of California, and those labor laws are such that employees can only work so long without a break. And you can't negotiate with that employee to give up his or her break. They must take the break. Okay? Are we clear on that? And there have been lawsuits in the state of California where the employees went in, where the employers went in, the companies went in and said, hey, look, we talked with the employee about this. The employee doesn't want to be taking all these breaks. It works better for our business if they work through and they get off. We want it, the employee wants it. Well, the tort lawyers don't want it, so these judgments have come down from the Supreme Court. So we have a situation where there's no exemption for certain emergency employees, and so they have to close that gap by not making the breaks mandatory. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that we needed a whole proposition to correct that flaw in our labor laws here in the state of California. So that's why we recommend a yes, and it applies to certain private emergency crews and ambulances and all that sort of thing. Otherwise, you've got your choice as a company between stopping and putting a new crew member on there or being in violation of the law where you're taking a patient to the hospital.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because I asked my friend whose daughter is a helicopter nurse.
Yeah.
She rides in helicopters with patients on emergency trips from one point to another. Mm-hmm. And she said that this bill is sponsored by the ambulance companies to prevent them from paying extra money to their workers.
Well, that's right.
And she said that the way it works right now, they send the closest unit regardless if they're eating or not. And if that happens, then they get paid for not getting lunch. And the ambulance company wants to do away with that so they won't have to pay extra money for their
Okay, well, it sounds good to me. I don't think they should be paid. Those people get paid plenty. And sometimes people have to work through. You know, I work for myself, who's the biggest SOB I ever worked for. And I work through all the time. I work long hours. I work overtime. I don't get paid anything, and nobody cares. And I'll tell those other people I don't care about them either. So there. All right, so they want to whine and cry and complain. They're getting paid plenty. They're doing just fine. But somebody from that air ambulance crew wants to call in and tell me how they had a brain spasm because they went 20 minutes without a break or something. I don't know. What the heck? Pamela, we want to thank you for calling in. Don't be a stranger calling in. Oh, by the way, Pamela, did you have questions on any of the other propositions?
No, they're pretty clear.
Okay.
It's definitely a yes, and 5 seems a good one to vote yes on.
Yeah, okay. And a big yes on Proposition 6, which repeals the gas tax out there, because that's hitting you and other families like it, costing you $700-800 a month. Thank you so much, Pamela. We now go to line 2. Linda, our regular, calling from Burbank. How are you tonight, Linda?
Okay. First, I wanted to tell you that the measure in Burbank is Measure P.
Yes.
And it establishes a 3/4 cent sales tax.
Right, 0.75%, yes.
It's 3/4. That's the way it's written in here.
Okay, right.
And they also have, I don't know if you call it a measure, because it doesn't say, it's not under city, it's under school.
Right.
It's QS.
It's an advisory measure, and there's a similar one over in Pasadena. So they want you to to climb the gallows, put the noose around your neck, and prescribe the exact method of execution.
And I'm just looking at my little sample ballot.
Yes.
But in the big book, it said that the ones who put the measure and what do you call in the school one?
Yes.
The Burbank City Council. Certain members of the Burbank City Council.
Yes.
I believe the Burbank mayor too. I believe.
Yeah, the whole Burbank crime family put that thing on the ballot. There's no question. How much does your ballot say, or whatever propaganda you got from the city, how much does it say that that measure is going to generate over in Burbank each year? 20, 30 million additional?
It's, let's see, 3/4 cents sales tax, providing approximately $20,000 annually.
No, 20 million.
Ended by voters.
Right, and you put down here it'd be about another $900,000 a year for the schools. Why they cut the schools in on this? Because of the public employee unions over there, and they need to make sure that the school teachers are behind this and doing all the electioneering that they need because they want to get it passed. This is basic political practice.
Well, what I love about the measure in Pasadena is that their advisory measure J is worded in such a way to basically it says that we'll consider allocating a third of this tax revenue towards the public schools.
Right.
They'll consider. It's not even a commitment.
No. This is all nothing but a pension tax, Linda. Hey, Linda.
I hope enough people in Burbank are listening to this.
Well, I hope so, too. Everybody better wake up because this is all about rising pension debt. And Burbank is like every other city. It's so far underwater. They ought to be crabs.
The Burbank City Council is turning into the LA City Council.
Oh, yeah, they're the same people. They are all the same people. And I'm going to come back to that here after the break.
They're all these city councils, they're just managed by the unions.
They are?
They're just really
wholly owned subsidiaries. Hey, that music that you're hearing in the background means that we're coming up on our break here at the bottom of the hour. So stay with us, and please call us at 866-870-5752 or go to radiofreelosangeles.net. Radiofreelosangeles.net, all spelled out. Give us some love. Become part of this program. We'll talk to you in the next half hour.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right, back with you here, and it's really good to be back. We had a nice first half hour. Please call in. We love talking with our listeners. Our audience is growing. We love to hear from you. You can reach us here at 866-870-5752. Call in and be part of the show, especially if you disagree with us.
Yeah, by the way, I didn't ask you how your trip was.
My trip was fantastic. Yeah. You know, when you go to the northwestern United States, it is just beautiful.
You went to Washington State.
Washington State, yes.
Oh, I thought you were back in D.C. visiting your son.
No.
Oh, okay.
I do have a couple of sons back in that area. In this case, we're visiting some other friends. You get up near Bellingham, Washington, which is the upper left-hand corner of the continental states, or the lower 48, and you're just a few miles from the Canadian border, and all that area up there is seaport and then agricultural. It's really beautiful dairies. It's
never been up there. It looks beautiful.
It's wonderful country. It's like so much of the United States. You haven't seen it. There's great country and great people everywhere. You'd like them. I know Washington has a reputation for being nuts, but that's really Seattle. And so Redmond, some of those other big cities there. You get out in the country, it's just like getting into the interior of Los Angeles. People earn their money the hard way, tend to be pretty conservative about things, and so are they up there. And, the dairy products are fantastic. And if you've never been to British Columbia, which, of course, is in Canada, there's another great part of the world up there. There's just so much to see. And when you travel over the United States and you fly over these vast expanses of real estate, you realize that this whole business about too many people or too much population, too much growth, out of control, well, it's all nonsense, except for the out of control part. We're definitely out of control, and that's what they don't like. They want to be in control and tell us what we're doing. So it was a good time, and I got to spend some time with a couple of good conservative people there and talk about the show and a few other things, and they're solid listeners.
Well, it's good to have you back, Mike.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back. Okay, now we want to go. We didn't finish the last hour. We've got another caller calling in. Eric has a question about Proposition 1. Eric, fire away, my friend. Great to have you on the show.
Yes. My lady friend of 10 years, 11 years now.
Yeah.
She happens to be a Democrat, but we're on the same page regarding President Trump. She thinks he's doing a great job, and
yes,
she's totally against the coup attempt against him. Mm-hmm. And she's fed up with this Democratic bureaucracy in Sacramento.
Yes.
So that's good.
It is.
Now, the other day, she approached me about Proposition 1.
Okay, refresh my memory. Which one is that? What does it say?
Well, Proposition 1, I don't have it in front of me, but it's the one that it's a bond. It's another bond.
No.
Of course, I'm sick of all these bond measures.
Oh,
every
yeah.
one of them. But she said that's one measure that she is going to go for. And she's attracted to it, and she explained all up and down her reasons that it supposedly will, because Section 8 isn't working very well, it'll make it so that we can get housing easier, supposedly. I'm not sold on it yet, on that yet.
No.
I'm still leaning no.
Right.
But, that we can bypass the greediness of many landlords, and yes, you have to acknowledge a lot of them are, and just you can wheel deal this one with the government. Well, I don't trust the government either. So
No. That's right. Here, let's go to the propositions. I want to be fair to the audience. So, Proposition 1 calls for the issuance of $4 billion in bonds for housing programs and veterans' home loans. Okay, well, the answer to that is no. For 101 reasons. Number one, it's always $4 billion. It goes directly into the hands of the bureaucracy. It's the least efficient way to do anything or to build anything. Notice that they didn't start off with tax credits or anything else. They're going to turn around and give this money to pet projects in cities and people who are politically connected. And then, of course, they always like to surf off of veterans' issues, hoping to get the support of people like myself and others who have served in the military. The answer to that has to be no. Eric, let me just tell you, this state is broke. It's broke. The pensions alone owed by the cities and the counties and everything else total over $1 trillion. That's just the shortfall, right? We can't get there from here. The government is too darn big. It needs to do less, not hire more people to do it. And every time that the government gets involved and skews you, why is there a housing crisis to start with? There's housing, we can go into 20 reasons for it, but I'll give you one big one, and that is excessive regulation. All right, when you restrict where houses can be built, you have onerous building requirements that drive up the cost. You require developers to set aside large portions of the land that they purchased for parks or other liberal fantasy farms, whatever the hell it is that they're doing. That drives up the cost of that housing. In some of these so-called set-asides, can add $200,000 or $300,000 to the cost of a house. So now that the average cost of a housing is starting to push $1 million in some parts of urban Los Angeles, what does the government do? It says, we need low-cost housing. Well, if you want low-cost housing, they ought to all go out and commit collective suicide. That'll bring the cost of doing business down real fast. Always rely upon the free market. As far as veteran benefits are concerned, that is a federal issue, and we need to address that. And I'll just ask you, why the hell is it that we pay firemen and cops and city mismanagers hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, and yet fail to pay our veterans a living wage if they're truly retired, or take care of those medical problems? Do you see what I mean? They're just using as an excuse. The answer is no, 1,000 times no.
Well, not only that, but all these other bond measures about water and school.
Yes.
Every time they come back with another one, and the dumb voters keep approving them over and over again.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
It is.
And about Prop 6, by the way,
yes.
If that fails, it'll be because of the misleading verbiage in the measure, the way they deliberately worded it to deceive the voter.
Right.
If that fails, then I think there should be a lawsuit.
Well, yeah, the lawsuits are not likely to be very helpful. The judiciary is not helpful. But, this brings up the other issue, Eric. The major problem that we have in this state is the one that you just identified, and that's idiot voters, or worse yet, people who don't vote. So this crisis that we have here in this state is not a crisis of liberal versus conservative or Democrat versus Republican. It is a crisis of citizenship. Guys like you and I are here on a Sunday night. We're informing ourselves. We're talking with each other. You have a wonderful dialogue going with that lovely woman that you go with, who happens to be a Democrat, but who is not brain dead. So she's looking at the reality. These are the dialogues that we have to have in our society. And we as citizens must take responsibility for these outcomes. We just can't treat our government or the voting process as something that we can safely outsource to others, or just, for example, elect Trump or support Trump psychologically, or I should say publicly. Well, Donald Trump is not enough to make a difference, is he? Right? I mean, to make the critical difference. He cannot do it all, and we should not sit here hoping that he can, because he can. How do we know he can? Well, because Donald Trump cut tax rates, but he didn't cut taxes. Taxes continue to grow. The government, hundreds of millions and billions of new dollars continue to flow into the public non-productive sector right out of the private productive sector. If we had more money at lower cost in our system, the cost of a lot of things would come down. We'd have more competition. I think that Trump is doing a lot, but we really have to ask ourselves, okay, we have a pretty good idea of what Trump is doing. Now, what the hell are we doing? Well, you and I are doing a lot right now, but we have to take this argument to out to our neighbors. Please give. Is it okay to call her your girlfriend or your companion, your significant other? Please give her my regards and thank her for the support on these issues. This is
All
Mike.
right, Mike.
Hey, take care, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Call back. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're on break. Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles, RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. Back in a minute.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
Okay, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson back with you here, Radio Free Los Angeles. And before going any further, I just wanted to thank Jeff, who's working the board in there. Good to see you again, Jeff, back with you. And we have the lovely Miss Brooke in there, screening the calls, handling them in. So it's always good to have her here. And
we got a good team here, don't we?
We do, yeah. Call in, if only just to say hello to Brooke. Yeah, so it's always fun here on Sunday night, and this whole program sequence starts around 6 or 7. Kathleen Hughes, what's the name of her
Kathleen
program?
Wells,
the
Naked Truth Report.
Yeah, Naked Truth Report. Her program is doing well. Ours, ratings in ours are doing well, and then the 9 to 10 o'clock hours doing well. So we're all working hard and trying to make Sunday night an interesting time for public discussion.
Sunday night on KRLA is Don't Miss Radio.
Yeah, that's what we want to make it. I'll tell you. Uh-oh. We have a caller in on line 1, and warning, he supports Proposition 6. I thought it said opposes it. Oh. All right. Well, hey, we have Mike from Los Angeles who supports Proposition 6. From your lips to God's ears, Michael. What's going on, my friend?
Well, to be honest with you, I rarely get involved or informed on local propositions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I began to listen to the commercials about Prop 6,
yes,
I began to realize, there's a little more to this than just some little thing that some guy wants to do.
Yes.
And so last week I went to my first political rally.
Fantastic. Where was it?
It was over at the Walmart in Burbank.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah, they had the bus roaming throughout the state. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, actually I did. I got there real early. In fact, that's the only reason I got up as early as I did. And I went there. I met the radio personalities. I got to meet John Cox.
Great.
And, it was great. And, in fact, as the day wore on, the crowd got larger and larger and larger.
Fantastic. And I think AM the Morning Answer was out there, too, from KRLA.
Yes, that's right. That was
right.
the reason I wanted to go.
Cutting edge here.
But as I listened, it really makes a lot of sense. They slipped the tax in on us, even though they promised they wouldn't.
Right.
And that if this goes down in defeat, the sky's the limit as far as whatever they want to tax.
Yes.
Prop 13 standing in line on the chopping block after this. If they can get away with this, nothing will be sacred anymore.
That's right, it won't. And by the way, for all of you out there, Proposition 6, we always assume that this audience, which is extremely well informed, knows it. But just in case you don't out there in Radio Land, Proposition 6 is the proposition which would repeal the recent SB 1. It was an increase in the gas tax and registration fees. So this rolls it back. Those additional taxes, not the basic gas tax or registration fees, just the increase that was imposed by Senate Bill 1 costs the average family of 4 in California $700 to $800 a year. That's what's being repealed. And these people are screaming like hell, and they, Comrade Becerra, the Attorney General, prepared the ballot summary and put in misleading language, which they weren't able to get rid of, that basically said that this proposition is going to reduce road maintenance. Well, that's a fraud. They get plenty of money for roads and whatnot. They just choose to spend it in other ways on other things. And
pensions.
And pensions, this whole thing. All that $700, that goes right down the pension rat hole. Well, Mike, I want to compliment you on becoming active, and I want to encourage you to take the next and most important step in your activity, and that is your new citizen activism, and that is to join us at the California Taxpayers Union, californiataxpayersunion.org, and become a member. Become a member, whether it's $2 a week, $2 a month, $20 a week, $100 a month, whatever it is, join us, because the reason why we have all these problems is because we have 1.8 million state, federal, and local employees here in this state, and they kick in dues, and even with the Janus decision, those dues are still going to be in the area of $1 billion a year, and they mobilize all of that money and resources and campaign workers and everything else against you and me in a massive raid on our wealth, on our bank accounts, on our freedoms. Yes.
Now, with all these public employees and their bloated pensions,
yes,
does that include, say, the law enforcement and fire department and stuff like that too?
Yes, they're the worst of them all.
Is that CalPERS thing?
Yeah, you will find some county, some firefighters, for example, county firefighters and police, otherwise known as sheriff, are in L.A. County's own system. City of Los Angeles, same thing. They have their own retirement system, but most of the other cities in the state of California are part of CalPERS. So, and believe me, the police and fire salaries and benefits and retirements are out of control. They're budget busters, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, Mike, because in the 9 to 9:30 hour, I promised to get to you. I've got some important information to communicate to you about out of control Los Angeles County overtime, which I forget, but they had 70 to 100 of these guys who got $100,000 a year or more just in overtime. This is unsustainable. It can't happen. And I'm tired about hearing from all the sob sisters, including conservatives, talking about fire and police. There's no reason that we have to pay these people more than the governor, more than the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, more than colonels, more than people in combat. There's no reason for it. Mike, thanks for calling in, my friend. Don't be a stranger and join the union. Okay, my friend?
All right.
All right. Line 2, we have Andy, who has a question about how taxes are cut one way. Andy, how are you, sir?
Just fine, sir. For your opinion, I want your opinion on. Our president was supposed to be doing so much good.
Yes.
On cutting taxes for us. Why didn't he cut both ways?
What do you mean cut both ways?
I heard you mention about cutting taxes both ways.
Well, when I say cutting taxes, he has cut tax rates, but overall taxes remained at very, very high levels. Now, in other words, and this is sometimes characterized as a positive aspect of what President Reagan did in the 80s and what other governors have done and what Donald Trump has done, which is to lower tax rates, which have had the effect of producing more tax revenue. So far, so good. But I don't necessarily see that generating more taxes for the government is a virtue in and of itself. That government and the amount that it spends must be brought down so that we can restore the private sector and get wages up in the private sector. We don't need all that money going into the government. And wouldn't you know, Andy, that at the same time that these revenues have gone up, these people have actually spent another $788 billion more than they have coming in. And this is a so-called Republican administration, right? My gosh. So President Trump is certainly doing his part, but you and I and Republicans and Democrats, and believe me, there was one other thing I wanted to say about our previous caller, Mike, and his lovely friend who happens to be a Democrat. We have a lot of Democrats that are coming around and who look at these things. They're not. Once you get past the propaganda and you start looking at what's coming our way, I mean, we've got 5,000 or more people headed in a caravan on the way to the United States to do what? To take your money.
They bring nothing. They bring nothing to build America.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing to build us up. Nothing. They come to get. They come to take. They come to destroy.
That's right.
Boy, it's sad. It's sad.
It is. Now, mixed in with them are a lot of great Americans, and we can sort them out, and we can bring them in the legal way, and we can train them properly, and we can assimilate them properly, and make sure that they're on the same wavelength, that we are here
but
in
you
the
know
United States.
What I was going to say too, Mike.
Yes, sir.
We got enough good, bad, and ugly Americans.
Yeah.
We don't need no more. We don't need no more coming in.
Hey, Andy, man, you just be.
I like this guy.
I love him, man. I hope you're calling
you need
in.
to call in every week. Andy.
Every week. All right, Andy from Los Angeles. We got enough good, bad, and ugly. We don't need no more.
Right.
Well, hell, I can't top that. So you're the second guy in 2 weeks is trying to take over interviewing for my show. I had Harry in here last week.
Well, it's so nice, man, having you guys there. Really appreciate it.
Hey, we appreciate you, Andy. Thanks very much. Okay. So they can't top that.
We gotta write that down.
We do.
That's the quote of the week.
Right up on the radio show. Hey, we're going to be back in the half hour after 9 o'clock. So don't go anywhere. Come back. We've got important stories from you on the South Pasadena, the scandal of overtime in the Los Angeles County Fire Department, a bunch of other things. Be sure to join the show, become part of it. RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. We'll see you after the news.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
That's right. That's us, and we're back. Jonathan, good to see you again here.
Great to be here tonight.
All right, we're rolling tonight. The election season really has people interested. And, you know, I know it's hard to maintain, a peak enthusiasm all year round, but these problems that we have are many and deep. And, yes, we need to be extra active at election time, but throughout the year, you need to listen carefully and also become part of the California Taxpayers Union, because we have a lot of work ahead of us to get this message out to our fellow citizens and in all parties. I don't want anybody to come in and say this is the Republican Party rah-rah fan club. We're certainly not big fans of the elected Democrats, but we're not huge fans of a lot of elected Republicans either, for the reasons that we've talked. Now, we've got a couple of callers that I know are going to want to talk about pensions. So let me set this up before we have these wonderful callers coming in. Those of you who know me know that I've referred to Los Angeles Times as LA Pravda for many years. Half the time it's a commie rag. But I've also been lavish in my praise and recognition of their really great work that they've done on the pension situation here over the last 3 years. They have been committing random acts of journalism over there, and they're really fabulous. And one of them was done by Matt Stiles. And, we need to reach out to some of these people and try to get them on the show, Jonathan, because some of these folks are good, honest brokers. So Matt Stiles has done this wonderful article here, and in the lead paragraph is this: overtime costs at the Los Angeles County Fire Department surged 36% in the last 5 years, placing some firefighters among the highest compensated workers in local government. Hell, make that the highest compensated workers in state government or federal government. More than 640 fire department workers last year received at least $100,000 in overtime in the 2017 calendar year. By comparison, there were 28 such employees at the LA County Sheriff's Department, which is twice the number of workers, and 48 in public medical and hospital jobs. No employee in civilian departments of the county recorded overtime that high. 24 of those firefighters made in excess of $200,000 in overtime. That's just overtime. Fire department employees represent a third of the county's 1,000 highest employees, which includes surgeons, anesthesiologists, and pediatricians who work in public hospitals. These guys are being paid up at that level. A few made more than the fire chief and the county's top executive. Well, I tell you, that county executive doesn't deserve to make more. That's why we call them mismanagers. Yeah, these guys should get on top of it. Overtime accounted for about a third of the average fire department's employees' annual pay last year. Now, you go into that, some of the critics there says, well, somebody's not doing scheduling in the right way. Ha! You figure that out, Ace? Absolutely. These high levels, Matt Stiles continues, these high levels of overtime, which is paid at 1.5 times the normal rate, were driven last year by an inordinate number of major emergencies. Okay, fine. But we know we have emergencies. They're in the emergency business. They should know that. But let's talk about two examples here. The highest compensated fire department employee last year was Battalion Chief Tom Ray, that's R-A-Y, who works in the department's Fire Prevention Services Bureau. There's not even a fire burning. This guy's in fire prevention, don't you know? Okay, I continue. That wasn't Matt's language, that was mine. He earned a base salary of $175,000, an amount consistent with his rank. That's high already, but was paid an additional $283,000 in overtime, bringing his total compensation to about $480,000. Right? That's Battalion Chief Tom Ray. Next one, you guys are going to love this one. Buckle up. If you got a 5-point safety harness, get it snapped into place. The top overtime earner last year was, and I think I'm going to hear, this guy may be a candidate. We may hear from this guy again here. The top overtime earner last year was Captain Sergio Burciaga, who received about $322,000 in extra pay on top of his $126,000 a year base salary, pushing his total compensation to $457,000. Now, hang on to your. Here's the punchline.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Payroll records show that he worked 7,449 hours in 2017, the equivalent of 6 24-hour shifts a week all year. He works the station 105 in
So
Covey.
he just had one day a week off, but he worked every hour the rest of the year.
This guy never rests. Okay, so at any rate, this reporter here, Matt Stiles, indefatigable reporter that he is, he works for the LA Times. So he picked up his Obama phone, and he called down there, said, reach by phone. Burciaga said he was, quote unquote, too busy to be interviewed. Right. Ray did not respond to requests for comments. So anyway, too many good things. I'm not going to read it all. Go to the LA Times. It's the lead article there, and this gives you some idea of what we're doing. There's a lot more in that article there, but Matt Stiles, high fives to you down there. You're doing a great job, and believe me, in any industry, if overtime is over 10%, you should be doing something. Something is going right, and there's something else going on. The Malibu mayor down there is right up to his eyeballs in that too, and I don't know how much he earned down there, but. It was a lot down there. So the
Malibu mayor,
yeah, he was mentioned in this article. Go ahead and dig that out. He'll be another nominee. Look that up down there. And meanwhile, I'm going to take a call from George in Los Angeles, who has a comment on pensions and the money situation of firefighters. George, how are you tonight?
Well, pretty good, Mike.
Great.
I tell you, this situation with these firefighters is so complicated at the county level. Mm-hmm. And these guys, even some years back, tried to get all of this overtime calculated for their, pensions, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they took it to court, and it was thrown out. Mm-hmm. And it was just on, their base pay based on their rank and their regular work. Because this overtime work is, again, by union rules.
Yes.
So, you come in and, you serve 20 minutes, okay, they have to pay you for a 4-hour block of overtime.
Right.
That kind of garbage. But the other real
these are called work rules.
That's right. And the other thing is we have this checkerboard of contract cities. And I had a talk with Sherman Block many years ago when he was
Yeah.
a sheriff. And he was very highly regarded because he brought in not only a number of cities that closed down their police departments and contracted for sheriff services,
Yeah.
but they contracted for what is called dedicated service. And these are the kind of sheriff's cars that have the city's name on the patrol car. And those patrol cars are not like sector cars that can be called, to other problems outside of a city. They're always remaining active and patrolling within the city itself.
Right. Hey,
And so
George.
they cost extra money.
Hey,
So
George.
these guys
Hey,
and the fire
George, are you there?
department
Okay. Hey, George, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, George. We're coming up on break. Hang on, I'll keep you over, and we'll continue our conversation here. This is Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson, Radio Free Los Angeles. Call in to join us. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. This is Michael Alexander, Managing Principal of Private Trust Management Group. Our professionals will serve as your trustee or work with a current trustee to rapidly and effectively administer your estate. We serve attorneys and clients throughout Southern California. Remember, you don't have to do it alone. For more information, call us at 626-622-8000 or go to our website, privatetrustees.com.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
Okay, Mike Alexander, Jonathan Wilson. Be sure to join us, become part of the show at 866-870-5752. We're continuing with George from Los Angeles. Now, George, you described some complicated work rules that contribute to the high cost of firefighting, and you also referenced the county's very successful contract policing system where the sheriffs provided. What was
fire.
And fire. Oh, yes. There are many. Now,
you said the state and the federal government. Remember, during fire season, these guys jump at the opportunity to go, on, the help.
Well, George. Hey, George.
And get money from the state and the feds.
Oh yeah. It's a feeding frenzy, and let's bring this thing down to basics. You simply cannot run a government and be paying any of your employees $500,000 a year without end. This is bad management. They've caved into the wage demands. Nobody can explain to me why anybody in the United States, I don't care what the hell he's doing. You can't explain to me how and why we should be paying any one of these public employees who claim that they're in the fire and the police and the safety business more than we pay the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Period. End of sentence. It's so hard to recruit. Well, maybe we better change our standards because we're rapidly arriving at the point where we're not going to be able to afford those people. We're going to have fewer of them, but they won't cut salaries. They won't cut benefits. They engage in this fraud and fiction called cutting positions, and we'll be talking more about that in the future. George, thanks so much.
They use that.
Got to run, George.
To raise.
Yeah, George, you got to run, my friend. We appreciate you calling in. And next up is our friend Dean Gross, who would also like to comment on the same issues. Dean, how are you this evening?
Very good. How are you?
All right, good. You had a comment on this this pension and overtime business.
Well, I wanted to discuss with you, and we may not have time
to
do so tonight. I wanted to discuss with you, as you know, I'm running for city council.
Yes.
So I'm trying to be the policy maker in this process.
Mm-hmm.
And you've mentioned, how does this get out of control? How does this get out of hand?
Yes.
And I would challenge you to run for office yourself. Most of us are not crazy when we start. We may be when we end. But the point I'm getting at is that you're one vote in a body of multiple votes.
Sure.
And you may not be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. The problems that we have with the overtime, it's my understanding in PERS, and I'm not sure about LA City or LA County, but overtime doesn't qualify toward retirement compensation.
Right.
In other words, the total compensation and how much they get paid. That being said, what I'm hearing is that there's a great deal of difficulty, particularly in law enforcement today, finding qualified candidates.
Right.
That it's become so hard for the guy working in the field to do the right thing when the laws have been changed and his hands has been constrained from the standpoint of really doing the job. A lot of them get the attitude of, all I'm going to do is cite this guy and I'll be dealing with him again tomorrow. There's no follow-up on the criminal aspects of it or the prosecution aspects. That's kind of an exaggeration to a point, but the hiring requirements, the hiring requirements are so rigid that they can't get people in, can't get them through academies, can't get them out onto the street. And the result of that is there's lower numbers on the force, and people are being literally forced to have to do overtime in order to meet their service mandates to the communities that they serve in. How do you, from a policy standpoint, to try and find a solution, how do you do that?
Well,
and I'd like to maybe next week get with you and we can explore this further.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of a situation that it's the proverbial catch-22.
Yes.
Nobody from a policy standpoint wants to have any employee, regardless of what department they're in, making 2 and 3 times what the governor makes, or 2 or 3 times what the city manager makes.
Right.
And so we've got to find a process or solution, at least in my mind, that helps us get to that particular point. Again, I think the issue and debate of it, and I know you're coming up close to the end of your show, but the debate of it would be something worth dialoguing back and forth on.
Sure.
To try and figure out what can be done, what policymakers might be able to look at and do as they move forward, and we continue to be challenged by things that are coming out of Sacramento.
Oh, no, I quite agree. In this, no one of these problems exists in isolation. It is all part of a broader political context that is federal, state, and local, and above all, is part of a larger political context, not the least of which is our increasing levels of crime, our importation of crime, our refusal to deal with crime. And if we look at the behavior, a lot of these unions, including the police unions themselves, they might be conservatives. They may be concerned about the rising level of crime, but their contributions go to politicians who will increase their compensation and benefits, but they also happen to be the big spenders in the state. They happen to be the same people who condone sanctuary cities. They happen to be the same people that support and handcuff local city councils and prevent them from working. So I want to say this, Dean. I do want to have that. And Jonathan, let's reach out to Dean and schedule some quality time, because these issues, Dean, you're quite correct. I sit here and I take hard shots over the radio, but I do believe that there is a lot of policy that has to be discussed. We have some decisions that we have to make. So we'll get with you and we'll bring you back on. By the way, you are running for city council again in what, City of Los Alamitos?
That's correct.
That's it. So remember Dean Gross. He's a good man out there. What's your website out there, Dean?
It's real easy. It's losal.net.
LOSAL.net.
You
got it. Was down Los Al for years. Dean, thanks so much for calling in, for being part of the program. We'll be in touch to bring you on, okay?
All right.
All right, sir. Thank you. All right, now comes the fun part of the program here. Music. Maestro, please. Hello, Jeff. There he is.
And now, live from Glendale, California, it's this week's Government Grifter Awards with nominees from none other than the Los Angeles County Fire Department.
There's a surprise.
We've already teased these nominees, but
All right.
first nominee, we've got to go with Fire Battalion Chief Tom Ray, who makes $283,000 a year in overtime, with a total compensation of $480,000 a year. Congratulations, Tom Ray.
Yeah, Tom. Hey, call in next week,
yes,
Tom.
Yes. And our second nominee is Captain Sergio Burciaga.
Sergio.
Who received $322,000 in overtime, which brought his total compensation to $457,000 a year. We reached out to Captain Burciaga, but he was too busy to take our call. Our third nominee is another firefighter, and his name is Captain Rick Mullen.
Oh, yeah.
He leads a team at Station 72 in a remote outpost at the western tip of the county in the canyons north of Malibu, California. He earned $404,000 last year thanks to $260,000 in overtime. And not only that, Captain Rick Mullen, a retired U.S. Marine Corps colonel, is also the mayor of Malibu.
Oh, man.
So he was paid for working 6,599 hours last year, the equivalent of working 5 24-hour shifts a week.
Uh-oh.
So he's got a good deal up there in Malibu.
And he's a double dipper.
That's right. He's the mayor, so he's making the decisions, and he's getting paid a lot of money.
Well, conflicts all over the place. All right. Well, I think I'm hearing a winner. Drum roll, please.
And the winner of this week's Government Grifter Awards is Captain Rick Mullen of Malibu, California. Congratulations, Captain Mullen. This is your first nomination and first Grifter Award.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, well, there's Captain or Colonel. We want to hear from you, Rick. You know the number here. Call in to be part of it, because if we've got this wrong, we want to hear from you geniuses out there. Explain to us how we're going to get through it. Hey, no on Proposition 6. Yes on 6. No on any of these damn bonds. And we just keep the love going. We'll see you here next Sunday night, same time, 8 p.m. here at RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. Go to our website, join the union, be part of the solution, not the problem. Jonathan, thanks for a great show.
Hey,
and everybody
thanks,
here, see you next week.